everybody. This is the help video for Langston Hughes Picture Book Part 3 assignment. This will be a very quick assignment. That's why I have this and then the new story that we're going to be reading, Part 1 of that. So, yeah, we'll get to it. So this is Part 3 of the picture book. You read the first two parts. So the purpose of this is to continue learning about the nonfiction life, like the actual experiences of Langston Hughes. And then we're going to kind of identify how he incorporates those experiences in his fictional work that we're going to read next. The reason why we're looking at this so much is just thinking about how our experiences shape us as well, right? Some of you might have experienced similar things as Langston Hughes, and then our summative is you're going to have the opportunity to share a story, or not a story, but making artwork or researching something based on your experiences. So it's going to be connected back to you, but first we're looking at how other famous authors have done what you're going to be doing, basically. Okay, so let's get to it. On Sundays, Auntie Reed would take Langston Hughes to church. He'd never gone before. Auntie Reed's church was all right, but in time, Langston preferred the Baptist church down the street. The singing and preaching felt so familiar, like the rhythms of the streets in Kansas City. The words seemed to roll out of the preacher's mouth like jazzy old blues. He had trouble understanding what everyone was feeling when they felt God, but he liked being there. By now, Langston had grown popular at school, was thought of as smart and chosen class poet. He had begun writing poetry and sharing it. One of his first poems was When Sue Wears Red, about a girl he admired in school. And then he wrote Just Because I Love You, and The Negro Speaks of Rivers, which is that poem we read. Remember, he wrote that when he was 17, so this is all very early in his life. Now, after school, he'd run and play with friends. Sometimes afterward, they'd gather around Langston on the Reed's front porch. There in the dark shadows of a summer night, Langston would tell stories. Of the time he stood 10 feet from Booker T. Washington, of his two uncles who were Buffalo soldiers, the bravest of the brave, of John Mercer Langston, the U.S. congressman, about his grandma's first husband who was killed by John Brown, trying to free the slaves, and of Grandma herself who used to work on the Underground Railroad. Stories of real heroes who were black, just like Langston. All right, so this is just a little side note. So along with other authors of the Harlem Renaissance, Langston contributed to changing the perception of what it meant to be black in America. So he's always going to be a huge figure of the African American community as well as just the literary community in general. When I say the changing the perception of what it meant to be black in America, it's kind of what the Harlem Renaissance was all about. It was changing these stereotypical ways that African Americans were seen based on stereotypes and just discriminatory ideas of what it was, what it meant to be black in America. That's what it was like before the Harlem Renaissance for the most part. So that's how these authors changed those perceptions. All right, you guys can read this part if you'd like. It's just talking about, he talks a lot about dreams and how dreams were taken away by racism and slavery and how, what impact it has on people and how we can fight against that. There's a poem he wrote called A Dream Deferred, which some of you might read in high school. I know that's taught in high school a lot, but... All right. It grew clear to Langston in those days what home really was. Life with his grandma had never been exactly like home. Life when his ma and pa had never been like home, as much as he wanted it to be. Life with Auntie and Uncle Reed felt like home, it smelled like home, and it looked like home. And home was all of the things the Reed's home was. But home was something more for him. For him, home was a bluest song sung in the pale evening night on a Kansas City street corner. Home was the theater where his ma performed, the library where he sat quiet, reading the books he loved. Home was the church, alive with music, where everyone was brother and sister. As he grew older, Langston Hughes wrote more and more about everyday people, common folk. He wrote about dancers and children, troubled people and people in love, Walt Whitman and the Black Pierrot, all kinds of people, and he traveled all over the world, to Russia and France and to Africa, experiencing the stories and rhythms of yet other people. He lived in many cities in America, like Cleveland and Los Angeles, but Harlem, New York, where all kinds of black artists gathered, writers, painters, musicians, became the place where he stayed longest, and that he knew best. It seemed Langston Hughes had finally found a home, but the truth is, Langston never had a home like most people. Home was in him, and it was about his black family that he wrote in words that reached his own people and all kinds of people of different races and different countries all over the world. Okay, so kind of summing up how Langston got into writing and what home meant to him and why he wanted to share his experiences to people that related with him and other cultures as well. All right, that's the end of the picture book. So just one quick question. So far, are you interested in the life of Zora Hughes, Langston Hughes, or Zora Neale Hurston? Do you connect with one of them more than the other? And if so, why? Answer that here in complete sentences, and then submit when you're done. All right, everybody, that's all for this video. Let me know if you have additional questions. You can just email me like always, or join my office hours, or Schoology message. All right, bye, everybody.